todos. Welcome to, let me fix this mic, the Bridge Podcast. We're on Instagram, so it's going to be a little bit more English than it is Spanish, but de vez en cuando, voy a tirar mi español. But welcome to our weekly podcast. Very different from what you see on Sunday morning Facebook. Very different from what you're going to see on Wednesday night for our discipleship night. This is really more of a conversation. We're sitting down. Right now we're in my office, but we're going to try to, have different moments where we'll be in someone's house. We'll be at a barbershop. We'll be, at a restaurant if they let us record. But this is definitely something different, algo un poquito diferente. And you're only going to find this on Instagram and YouTube. Lo va a encontrar solamente en Instagram and YouTube. We're intentionally not putting it on Facebook because we want you to come to Instagram. We want you to check this channel out and kind of, specifically we want to talk to a certain crowd. So, get your coffee. I don't know where you guys have my water. Whatever. I usually have coffee. I don't have coffee today, but shout out to pumpkin spice and oat milk season. So let's do it. But today we want to talk for a few minutes. We just want to hang out. Maybe next week we'll have a guest, get some people from the church in here, maybe some people from our leadership staff and volunteers, and see how we can have healthy conversation, tener conversaciones de ciertos temas, otra vez posiblemente español, inglés, y a veces van a escuchar testimonios, you're going to hear some testimonies, and it's just going to be different. It's going to be different. But welcome. Today we're going to talk about worship, and I'm looking around because I'm trying to be creative with something, but let's see. We're going to talk about worship, and today what I want to talk about is worship then and worship now. Worship then and worship now. So take some notes, ask some questions. We're going to read the comments later. Ask some questions, and we're going to try to answer them throughout the week. We'll do some posts and see how we can interact. But I want to talk about worship then, worship now, specifically on one, how much it has changed, and two, the effect it has taken on the church, especially our culture. And I don't want to divide, but, worship has become music has become so much more universal now. And I say that because we'll do this, and it's really going to be more to my life, right? And I would love to read your comments about it and thoughts. But I grew up in church, and many of you know this. I grew up in church. My parents are pastors. I grew up in a Spanish church. What we would call traditional church, where we would have coritos, where we would sing hymnos. I'm going to give you a Sunday service so that way I don't talk for 20 minutes. It's going to be very easy so you can understand. So we'll get there on a Sunday, 5 p.m. Yeah, service is late, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. We'll be out to like 9. But 5 p.m., we'll get there. Sometimes we didn't even do sound check, at least for us. We would show up, and if you guys didn't know, I'm also a musician. So, Tina sings. I play piano, for those of you who don't know. So I grew up as a musician before I became a preacher. Yes and no. But anyway, so we'll go to church. We didn't even have sound check sometimes. Sometimes we'll rehearse during the week. Sometimes I will show up right at 4:45 and just turn on the piano and just go for it. Sound guy had everything on. And before praise and worship teams, I would go up there with the guys, and we'll just get on our instruments. We'll just start jamming out. And we don't know who was going to sing. Somebody was going to sing worship. Alguien iba a cantar. No sabíamos las canciones. No sabíamos qué tono iba a ser la canción. No sabíamos si iba a ser un corito, un himno, si iba a ser todo himno, todo. No sabíamos nada. No sabíamos cuántos cantantes. A veces people will come up and they'll bring up their kids. Sometimes there'll be 3 of them. Sometimes it'll be husband and wife. You just never knew. Y a veces llegaban y tenían su propio músico, and I wouldn't even play. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, we don't need you today. My son's going to play since I'm leading worship. So it was very different. So we didn't know who was going to sing. We didn't know what they were going to sing, and they'll just start playing. And most of the time they'll start with a slow song, which is interesting. Siempre una canción, un himno al principio. Tu fidelidad, quiero llenar, renuévame. Sometimes merecedor de alabanza. We'll go that far back. But we would just sing those songs, and then it'll be a corito out of nowhere for 30 minutes. And worship will be an hour, 45 minutes of just that of just us not knowing, and it was fun. We had a. I'm not no estoy hablando mal. I'm not saying that it was bad. We had fun. I had fun. I enjoyed those years. I enjoyed um, playing for 20 hours and going to church every day. It was fun, but it has changed. Y después parte especiales, pantomima. A veces this is when like these guys are out and they'll do a pantomima and we'll just play after the song and try to sing to it. This was wild, crazy days. And then the preaching. Then at the end of the preaching, at the end of the preaching, we just one of the young people would come up and start singing. Like we just took over, and that was our time to do the new songs. But we still had a corito in there. And again, tiempo maravilloso, tiempo bonito. We loved it. But then as the years went on, we saw the praise and worship team. We started having rehearsals. We really stopped doing corritos and hymnos in that type of way. We started listening to more music. Israel, Houghton was out. Fred Hammond, but like Israel started doing bilingual stuff. So we started doing a little bit more English. And even though the church wasn't bilingual, it was just kind of like the youth were more English. So we, do Trading My Sorrows, Lord, You Are Good. And those are our version of corritos. And we just kind of stopped doing those things. And then we find ourselves where we are today. I'll press fast forward, from what I just said, de como yo terminé de decir, de eran devocional, no sabemos qué iba a cantar, que ahora we have planning center. You know who's going to sing. We know the key they're going to sing in, and it's only going to be a few songs. Worship isn't going to be that long, not unless it's a worship night or, if the Spirit is moving, we'll extend it. But, it's probably not as long as it used to be. And again, it's just so different now. We really don't even do fast songs anymore. It's really just mid-tempo songs, really worship. We don't, it's not as upbeat or fast paced. And again, yo no estoy diciendo nada de esto para decir que está malo o bueno. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. Hear me. I just want to conversate, and I'm by myself, so you guys are in my office hearing me talk to myself. But again, as we read your comments, I want to do this. I want to ask a question. And then give you my opinion. What has changed? That's number one. So what has changed? What has changed? What has changed is the style of music. What has changed is even the language, particularly to our Hispanic churches. What has changed? We don't do corritos anymore. We used to do slow song first and fast. Now we kind of start with a fast song kind of and then end with something slow. What else? Right, the sound checks, rehearsals, all that, planning center, all that. So now that you know what has changed, and as I read your comments, you'll be able to say maybe there's different things in your context, cosas diferentes en tu contexto que ha cambiado. And maybe you're listening to this, posiblemente está escuchando y nada ha cambiado. Maybe you're like, I go to church Sunday and what you said in the beginning, I still do that. That's okay. But I think another question would be, why has it changed? Why has it changed? So, Alex, why do you think, I'm asking myself, why has it changed? Why has it changed? Why has the style, why has everything changed in worship? I think that obviously the times have changed. We have become more influenced with the music that we hear now. Back then, even a lot of the I don't listen to too much Spanish music anymore. And I think language had a lot to do with it, just because, I'm more into the English language. Yo hablo más inglés que español. Y aún en la música yo no escucho mucha canciones español, especialmente de oración. I'm just being honest, not unless I have to. But the influence has changed. I think started listening to Israel. Elevation, that wasn't until later. But Israel, who else? Later on, like Martha Muniz was one of them. Man, I'm bringing myself back. I'm trying to think of other people. Later on, like Christine de Claudio started, I feel like we started translating her stuff. And that's what it was. A lot of people started translating music, and we were able to do that type of music in our church, and church became more bilingual. And again, you probably are probably looking at me like, man, this is just probably an interesting conversation, but why has it changed? I don't know. Those are my opinions. I don't know why exactly it has changed. I don't know why, we don't do these types of music anymore. And I'm going to be honest. Welcome to the Bridge Podcast, because I'm going to be I did this all intro stuff. Now I'm gonna be real. I'm about to be super real. I grew up believing, and I don't want to hide myself because I'm pastoring. And I really, really want to be honest. I have a hard time doing corridos. I had this conversation with a friend. I had a hard time doing corridos because I felt like they really stirred the emotions of people more than they edified us. I feel like we would play so fast or, do this type of music and people were just running or dancing. And, I remember sometimes and this was bad, but the guys, I look at them and you see them like people danzando and I don't know, we'll just boom, stop. And you see the people kind of just like freeze, kind of like Squid Games, just stop. And it was so weird because we were like, man, this is so emotional. Like, what are we leaving with, right? And meeting people, getting into people's lives and seeing that nothing was really different really affected me. And I'm like, man, like we're just playing this music and nothing's changing. And I felt that when we started singing the Wrap Me in Your Arms and these different types of music and the William McDowell music. And I think lyrically it started kind of hitting in a different place. And, we're singing songs like Wrap Me in Your Arms. And we're like, there is a place where I'm found, where you find me, take me to that place, Lord, to that secret place, Lord, where I can be with you, as opposed to the other stuff was just really repetitive. It was just kind of like fire, 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 fire. I don't know how my edit's going to be, but it was like fire, 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 just over and over and over and over. And it's like, mi fuego, fuego, da, da. And it's like, I think lyrically for me, like, what are we saying? What are we really saying? And not to offend anyone, it was just that was my experience, and that's why I struggled with it. And I think many people thought, man, that's where Alex is from, that's what he knows. And when I tell you I can do a million songs for you right now, like I can go for it. I'm not, but I can go for it. And it was because this is what I knew, but it's not really who I was. I pulled away a lot from that culture just because it was hard for me. It was hard for me to see, like, man, what are we saying? What are we singing? And so these other types of music, I would hear the lyrics and I'm like, man, this is me. This is my life. And I felt like I connected to it a lot more. And I felt like it really started changing me. I felt like it was a time where I really would really get into worship, that it wasn't just me closing my eyes. It was me meditating on the lyrics. And there were other songs that had to do with Bible scripture. So I would look for the Bible scripture. And that's when I started getting more into the word, because I'm like, oh, wow, they actually took a Bible scripture and made it a song. And I remember Israel, who am I that you are mindful of me? That's the scripture. Like, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And we started seeing it more and more. And I think that is, for me, why it changed for me. Just a lot of the lyrics and a lot of the experience of feeling that people were just driven emotionally from this type of music. And it really wasn't doing it. It was just a way to say we had good service because we ran around and it felt good. And music became more of me trying to sound good than me actually trying to worship God, because I didn't understand the lyrics. So it was just more like, all right, how can we just sound cool and just find something that we can talk about and just repeat it 100 times. And people are just like, oh, I feel it. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're feeling. I don't know what you're feeling. And yeah, I grew up in it, but it was just hard for me. And again, there's times where I can go back to it, and there's songs that are powerful that I wish, that we would go back to. One of them, I was at home and it was porque la gloria de Jehová es grande, porque la da 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 es grande. And it's talking about the glory of God, how it's great, his power, and how he exalts the humble but shies away from the prideful. And those are old school songs that I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But I think there was a time where it was just crazy. And again, I hope I'm not rambling. I just want to really kind of have a conversation. This is going to sound weird. I'm hoping that you're talking back to me right there. I hope you're like, yep, that's me. Yep, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I want to do. We really want to have honest conversations. And that's why we're on this platform, just to kind of, see what you're feeling. So write in the comments. I'm wrapping up. I think that's basically, part one of just like our then and now and how worship has changed. And I'll close with this. Where are we now as a church when it comes to worship? I can't speak for the global church because I haven't been everywhere and I'm not everywhere. I'm here in PA. So what does worship look like now? Because I feel like even in that time where worship was shifting and we felt like we were connected more to the lyrics and our life was changing and we really started worshiping God on a different level, I feel like we've shied away from that too. I feel like worship was at times has become, and I've I can confess to this where it's just like, hey, we got to do this in 25 minutes, and let's just see what songs we can do. And we're trying to be more intentional about what we're saying, and that what we're singing, it's really impacting us first before we're trying to sing it to people. But I'll be honest, I feel like there's times where worship has just it's becoming kind of, even though it's not the same type of music or songs or style, it's kind of like what we were back, where it's just like, we're just like, what are we saying now? What are we doing? And I know a lot of you going to probably disagree with me, but I think I can't speak for everyone, but unfortunately, I've been in some places where I'm just like, all right, I think we're missing it. I think we're missing it. I'm all about the technology. I'm all about that, but I feel like we can go into something deeper. And I know there's people already doing it. There's people already kind of diving into that, that the sound of heaven. But I don't know. Alex feels like there's something missing, and maybe it's something missing here in our context. And maybe we're yearning for that, but that's the episode today, guys. There's nothing fancy. This is raw. This is just fun. This is just we're just trying to go with it. Y espero que se gozaron un poquito. Write comments because I want to use your comments for the next episode. And those questions again. What's your context of worship? Why has it? What is different now? Why do you think it's different? And where do you think we are? So what? Why? Where? Respond to us. Let us know how you feel. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hopefully you had a good time. And we'll see you next week, and we'll have a guest, and we'll talk some more, and we'll make this more interactive. But we just wanted to bless you and encourage you. And I don't have a crazy preaching. This is all I have. Have a great weekend. Peace out. Thank you for joining us. The Bridge Podcast. Let's go.